Alright everyone, now it's time to talk about the legacy media's dumb response to the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. It was very, very funny the other day, therefore, when CNN, they had their reporter on the ground there, and she's of course in a hijab to avoid being killed, saying, well, the crowd here, which isn't just Taliban, by the way, again, a lot of these people are tribal fighters that joined up as partisans with the Taliban to overthrow the Afghan government because their president fled, because Biden rendered them illegitimate by pushing the withdrawal date back beyond May 1st. That's why this problem emerged, because of Joe Biden. Let's put the blame on the only person that's actually singularly responsible, because he's in charge of the logistics of leaving Afghanistan. The straw man that anyone is opposed to actually leaving is what Joe Biden wants you to fixate on. No, I'm just concerned about the thousands of personnel and all the billions of dollars of weapons and shit that were left of the Taliban. Oh, wonderful times. Anyway, CNN reporter's like, hey, they're chanting death to America, but somehow they seem so friendly. Oh, yeah, the friendly Taliban fighters. You heard it first from CNN. It's a fiery but mostly peaceful transfer of power. That meme actually became real. I hate to say it, but at this point, when you make up some hyperbolic, crazy meme about leftists or about the liberal legacy media, it tends to become true pretty quickly. We've seen this with like pronouns and shit like that too. Like the old jokes about Tumblr from 2018 or 2017, now they all apply unironically to people on the left. They've lurched their way lemming-like off a cliff. It applies to the legacy media too. This shouldn't surprise us. You'll remember CNN is that network that insinuated that reading WikiLeaks releases back in the 2016 election, you'll remember, was illegal, and so you should not do that. You should let CNN determine what's in them that you need to know. You remember that one? CNN does this all the time. They pejoratively call it the Clinton News Network, although it's not really the result of partisan politics. They don't have any problem with the Bushes. They don't have any problem with Mitt Romney or Liz Cheney. I notice that they're on there all the time. And that's not, by the way, by coincidence. They're very peaceful. They're saying death to America. You remember? This actually harkens back to the Obama era. Do you remember that time that the Iranians, I think their liberal party had been sort of cast aside for a while, and then all the people there were saying death to America? And it was the attempt was made to explain how that was actually an endearing term. How that was actually like, I don't know, a friendly term of some sort. I can't remember the exact context, but I definitely remember that happening. That was, I think, around one of the Iranian elections in the mid-2010s when Obama was president. And it was surreal, because it's like, no, when you're chanting death to America, it's fairly clear what you mean. And it doesn't like, I don't warmonger after people for speaking their mind, because I believe in freedom of speech, and I don't really care if a bunch of people in a landlocked nation in Central Asia don't like the United States. But it's not a term of endearment. And if you're from the U.S. media and you're there reporting and saying that they seem like friendly people in the context of hearing that, I think there's something a little bit wrong with you. What we've got is a legacy media that simply refuses to criticize Joe Biden for handing over the nation to the Taliban. And so they have to make goofy excuses up like this. Oh, it's not as bad as all that. Well, the Taliban is being mostly peaceful. They've constantly talked about how the Taliban has assured women they're not going to be like beheaded and shit like that. Oh, you can keep working as doctors. You'll have to put a burqa on, over your smock. But hey, it's basically a mask. See, we're doing something about COVID. And that's, horse shit. What'll happen is the Taliban is softballing it in order to negotiate with the United States and get a bribe. They want money from Joe Biden. And they'll get it, by the way. They'll get boatloads of it. He'll do what Obama did with Iran, and crates of money will be flown in the middle of the night while we're leaving the airport. Essentially, they're just hoping, hey, we'll get some people out, we'll pay them off. I think they've got hostages already. We'll buy the hostages back off, and then we'll leave. And then China will come in and, co-opt Afghanistan. It'll be funny because China's the more likely empire to fall in the graveyard of nations than the U.S. That's the other thing I like. People are saying, well, this happened to the Soviet Union, and then they fell. Well, this is a little bit more like Vietnam. We fucked up there under similar circumstances. Our empire didn't fall. Empires tend to last 2 centuries or thereabouts. The U.S. has only been an empire for 1, so we're still in our growing pains segment. Keep in mind, we rebounded pretty well after the defeat in Vietnam. Not long after, you have the 1980s. That was and the 90s. Swell times compared to what we've got under Beijing Biden. So when all of the nationalists out there rant about the need to balkanize and have a civil war and shit, you're wrong, historically speaking. But CNN's more wrong. Death to America. Oh, what a nice friend. What a nice pal, says the representative for a supposedly U.S. media brand. Of course, here's the thing. CNN's a globalist media brand. There's CNN here in the fucking Netherlands, too. It's all over the world. It's the globalist news network. And it's paid to say what it says. And they don't really do news anymore anyway. They don't tell you the things that actually matter. If they do talk about them, they spin them into all hell. It's basically like CNN is just the more blatant version of Fox News anyway. And by the way, if Biden starts a war, which, I mean, he's not exactly reluctant to do, he just wants to take credit for ending America's longest war, even though he didn't ink the deal and ignored it completely, yeah, they'd probably support it. CNN would look for reasons to say why it was a good thing. Oh, Biden decided to invade Cambodia. Here's the top 10 reasons why this needs to happen. It's a humanitarian crisis. The government's got problems. We need to save them from themselves. Let's spend 20 years in the jungle instead of 20 more years in the mountains and steppe of Afghanistan. Good times had by all. Send your sons and daughters to go get shot at by communists. It's probably what he'd want to do. That's about all. Peace out.